Welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So this video here is the first video we're going to be doing on the 1964 Mk1 Cortina. It's just going to be a closed door respray, so we're not taking the doors off, we're not doing inside the door jambs, and it's just going to be going straight over the top of the original paint. So not a restoration as such, just a good repair and respray. We're going to do it in clear over base, not 2K. So you're going to get a start on this Mk1 Cortina today. Pretty nice old car. My mate started already pulling a couple of the stickers off, so I don't know whether or not it was just for looks, but maybe someone used to race it or something. The first step is going to be pulling it to bits. I'd like to pull this rear and front windscreen out. They should be fairly simple though. You pull this locking strip out and then they should just kick straight out. Fairly simple. I'm pretty sure the owner wants these taken off and not put back on. Main reason because they're a bit of a pain in the ass to get them sitting right. And he wants these little rivets ground off and then filled up. So personally, I might even try talking him out of it, because I think it's sort of one of those things that just makes the car. We're gonna change these bonnet pins. He's got some other ones that he wants put in, so we'll pull them out and see if we can fit the other ones for him. Apart from that, it's just a respray. We're just going over the top. It's been done in some 2K before, just direct gloss. You can tell it's got a bit of orange peel all through it, but it definitely looks 2-pack. It doesn't look acrylic, so that's one thing that's working in our favour. And I've decided that we're going to use clear over base for it. Just get that little bit longer out of clear coat than what you do the 2Ks before they start fading. Reds are especially bad. I only just saw this damage here just then, so might even get my got a bit of a dent puller over there. Apart from that, we'll just hit any of the affected rust spots and give the entire car a prime up, full prime. Give it all a good block down for him and make it look good again. I think this is probably going to be my last project here in Australia. Days are starting to come to an end. I've got 6 weeks at the moment, so looking forward to the move, but also looking forward to do a couple of old cars before I do go. Okay, so got most of it all stripped out. I left the bonnet on because he wants to change. He's got those bonnet pins there, so we'll sort them out before I take the bonnet off. Apart from that, the only real thing I didn't manage to get off was these roof mouldings here. I started getting that one off here and it just looked like it was going to be hard to get off, possibly risk damaging them, and if not, damaging them on the way back on. So I thought it may just be the best thing to leave them on, but I definitely will be for this stage. Windscreens came out okay. Front one did have a crack around here on the other side already, and it just kept going and got bigger, and he's gonna have to get a new windscreen. That's never a bad thing anyway. Rear screen came out without any damage, so I just went around and cleaned up all that windscreen sealer and then masked the holes out so that we're not going to cover the inside of the car with dust and crap when we're working on it. Apart from that, yeah, no big hurdles that I've come across so far. Haven't managed to quite get onto him about trying to keep these mouldings, but I think I'll just start on this part here. I usually like to start on the worst when I do cars, get the big worst of it out of the way first. So I'll just grind that back, and then I've got this spot puller over here and just weld that gun to it and pull it out. But my verdict is I actually really love this car. There's really not much rust in it at all. I'm sure there'd be loads of British guys so envious of a 64 Mk1 Cortina with this little rust in it. that is probably the worst of it that we've seen so far anyway. So it really didn't take long to realise that we weren't the first ones to get to this job here on this quarter panel. It's definitely been bogged up a few times in the past. So we just grabbed our little mini grinder with a piece of 36 grit on it. They're the roll lock discs, and this is a must-have tool, I believe, for doing any of this kind of work. It definitely saves a lot of time and gets the job done quite quickly. Once I ground all that off, and I'm happy that I've got some nice fresh exposed metal, I plugged in my spot puller there. It's basically also a spot welder as well, so you need to plug it in into your 3-phase in the wall, and then you must make sure that you have a good connection with your earth, which is on that clamp that you see I've clamped lower down on the quarter panel. Just be careful when you're doing that. You still need a good connection, but you just don't want to go and put a dent in the panel that you're trying to fix. So sometimes you can grind a bit right up under the sill panel or something like that, so that you're not going to be damaging a external panel. I'm not going to get too involved with the dent pulling on this because, to be honest, I'm not a professional at this. I'm just a bit of a point and shoot. What I can tell you about it is that I point it there, pull the trigger, it welds to it. I then leave it for maybe about 5 seconds. I've found that if you go and start pulling it straight away, when that weld's still hot, it will pull straight off and you won't actually be able to pull it out. If there's anyone out there that knows a little bit more about these, be sure to leave your expertise in the comments section. But yeah, I'm sure there's different channels out there that are more dedicated to doing the panel beating side of things. I'm just a spray painter with a little bit of basic knowledge on the panel beating side of things. I do enjoy it. I love getting the bog out and having a bit of pre-workout powder and getting stuck right into it. And I believe this is the kind of work where I do shine because I am capable of doing the entire job from start to finish. That's including every single step. And this job here, I basically did do everything myself. My business partner was busy up at the airport and he wasn't helping me on this job at all. I did have the owner come in just for a day and we put some of the parts back on, which was definitely helpful for me because that is a part that I really don't enjoy. Yeah, I don't have the patience to fit panels and parts and stuff like that back up. So I find that with someone else there to help me, it just makes that job not quite so bad. But yeah, anyway, so now I'm happy that I've got it pulled out a little bit. I just grab that grinder again and grind off the bits of burnt metal and any little high spots that there may be, because you wouldn't get adhesion with that filler if you just went and put that straight over those little burnt spots. So give it a grind back and then get a bit of 80 grit and go over the edge to make sure that where that previous filler is feathered out nicely. And then we'll go and mix up some bog and put that in. So I'm just using the Planet brand, Planit. I'm yet to see it anywhere else, but we've got this local supplier just around here, West Coast Automotives they're called, and reasonably priced. It's a good filler, it dries nice. I'm yet to see massive amounts of shrink back with it, but I will say that I've found most of the time when you get shrink back, it is usually user related. Yes, obviously there are some inferior products out there and some products that may not work with others, but as long as you make sure that you don't finish your filler off too coarse. So if you go and finish your filler off with 80 grit and then prime over that, you can just about guarantee that you're going to be getting some shrink back later on. If you use 180 grit as a rule of thumb, or even maybe 120, but I like to go that little bit finer with the 180 grit, I've found you will get minimal shrink back. You may get a little bit here and there depending on what you're going over and the products that you're using, but that's, yeah, my rule of thumb these days, 180. Yes, I know that's a lot of bog in that car, but the owner of this car is realistic about what he's going to get and what he's looking for. He's not looking for a show car, he's not looking for a museum piece. He just wants something that looks half decent for a street car, and it turns out he's absolutely wrapped with the final result. I'm not ashamed at all of putting a bit of filler into an old car. Had it have been my own car, I would have done most likely exactly the same thing. So while that filler was still wet, I made sure I found those couple of holes where the rivets go in and just poked a screwdriver in there so that I didn't lose those holes. I've seen panel beaters do it way too many times. They'll go and fill over body holes and stuff like that, and then when they go to put the trims back on, they're like, oh man, where were those holes? And they've got to drill more out over your fresh paint. Day 2 on this Cortina. Stripped it all down and I started grinding back a few problematic areas like this. Just anywhere the paint, there was some old filler repairs here and it was just blistering and bubbling up. A couple of little bits of rust, but all in all it's quite tidy. A couple of bits around here. I pulled that out with the spot puller. Got some filler in there, give that a block out. I managed to keep sometimes when you pull these kind of panels out you can like start tin canning them and they start wobbling around, but managed to avoid that and then just put some filler in it. Decent sized rust hole there, that's probably one of the worst ones on the car. I think we just do the same as the last guys. All you could really see there was just a little bit of a crack and grind it back and there's a big rust hole, so get some rust killer on it and then leave that for a day or two and then maybe just fiberglass or something. Partners started to put these bonnet pins in because he wanted some slightly different bonnet pins on. Had to make a few little edits around there and just cut it back a bit so it fitted in, but we'll get that sorted and maybe weld or fill up these holes, one of the two. Haven't managed to get in contact with him about whether or not he wants to keep these molds, but we'll be leaving that until we do because we've decided that we really don't want to do it, because even you can just see now it sort of looks a lot more plain and it sort of, I think it's one of those things that makes the car anyway. Let us know your thoughts. So this is where the car's up to at the moment. We've got most of the parts back on, still waiting on those windscreens. They're actually going to be put in this afternoon. I'm being a bit cheeky today, taken a little bit of time off so I can squeeze a video in. It's been a while since I've made one. We're still waiting on those rivets to come from the UK so that we can get the rest of those body molds on. Apart from that, I'm just going to run the polish buff over it one more time, because it has sat around for a week or so since I have polished it, and I just want to make it shine really nicely for him as soon as he picks it up, and it's going to be right for him to go back on the road. We've got to whack that grille on too actually, which I've painted in the DNA virtual chrome, which I will be making another video on that soon when I get the chance. Stay tuned for part 2. Now you've seen this video, get out there and paint some shit. Thanks for watching, and this has been another Gunman production. Goodbye.